Yo, Mike. Okay, so Screaming Frog dropped some really cool web crawling features. You've got a ton of use cases. So you wrote a long post kind of how you're using it. Can you break down what your post is and why it matters to SEO?
So my post is in reaction to Screaming Frog rolling out all these new features and functionality that allow you to integrate with large language models. So they have this custom JavaScript functionality where you can write code that runs as it's crawling. And one of the functions that they give you out of the box is the ability to generate what are called vector embeddings for every page as you're crawling. And so this is incredibly important because, SEO has been operating on what's called the lexical model, which is really just counting the presence and distribution of words in content, whereas Google has been operating on the semantic model for at least the last 10 years pretty heavily. And so it really gives us the ability to catch up to what they're doing by having that natively integrated into our tools.
Cool. So how does that impact the way SEOs and content creators should be thinking about strategy, or does it?
It does, because it allows us to get a better understanding of how Google will understand our content. So again, we think of it as like, oh, did you put the keyword in the title and in the H1? And, are you using the keyword a lot? More advanced people are also using the concept of co-occurrence. So like, what are the keywords that are also going with those keywords? Do we have those on the page as well? But in the semantic model, you're able to basically take the entirety of the representation of the page and then compare that to the query that you're looking to rank for. And so there's a variety of different mathematical operations that you can do to determine that relevance. And now we have the capability of understanding that ourselves using, off-the-shelf tools and open source tools and so on. So it's the sort of thing where you can write a piece of content and then you can run it through this, see how well it scores, and then you have a feedback loop that looks a lot like how Google is doing things, where you can make an adjustment and make it score better around these relevance numbers.
And to that point, you kind of in this post break out a lot of specific practical use cases. Can you kind of walk us through what some of those are and what people can start using today?
Yeah, so machine learning, a lot of people use these things that are called vector embeddings for a variety of different use cases, like clustering, figuring out, again, relevance, doing classification, building recommendation systems, figuring out anomalies, doing translation and search, all these different things, right? And also, of course, text generation. It's how, ChatGPT works. It's basically predictions based on these vector embeddings. And so in the case of SEO, you could use it for keyword mapping as an example. So let's say you've got a large site and you're trying to figure out what are the right keywords to target per page. Well, you grab a keyword list and then you can programmatically compare against all the pages on the site and then see what is the best page for each given keyword. And you can also figure out okay, let's say you've got 2 pages that are targeting the same keyword. So for us, we have an enterprise SEO landing page, and then we also have our enterprise SEO guide. And so effectively they compete with each other. The landing page ranks better, but the guide is actually more relevant. And so that gives us a peek into how Google is seeing our site. They might be, ranking one better because of other signals, but if we are able to improve the relevance of that landing page would rank better. And so that gives us, some detailed scoring that we can leverage to better understand that. We can also use it for internal linking, and that same sort of idea, because Google is looking for relevance on both sides of the link. And the best way to build internal links is by finding what are the 10 or whatever number it is most relevant pages throughout the site to link back to or back from. And then that way we can do that at scale without having to go through every single page and figure out, oh, is this keyword mentioned? No, we can now just see what's the most relevant and then implement those rankings there, or links there. And then also same sort of thing for redirect mapping. I talked about this a few months ago when Overstock was migrating to bedbathandbeyond.com. same sort of idea where you're just identifying the most relevant pages. So there's no like soft 404s by linking to the wrong page or linking to the home page. And then also when you're doing any like external link building, right? The tools will give us a list of prospects based on the searches that they perform or whatever other measures you might want to use. But again, because Google is looking for parity on both sides, if you build links from pages that are not relevant, they're not going to be as powerful as if you would have built links from pages that are relevant. So it's just another scalable way to understand this. And then also when we talk about things like topical clusters, which has been, a big topic in the SEO space, but I don't think a lot of people have been really good at identifying these clusters. You can do that quite easily by, really scaling these approaches using these vector embeddings. And so you could also apply that to clustering your keywords, run it on your existing content. And then you could also use these by identifying like which pages were hit by helpful content updates, and then you build a series of averaged embeddings on all those pages that fell out of the list, and then use that for classifying pages on your site. So what is the propensity for them to get hit by the helpful content update as well? So, there's numerous use cases, ones that I didn't even mention in the blog post yet, but it's a game changer in that we're able to have the same sort of semantic relevance understanding that Google does, so that we can really have it inform what we're doing in ways that are in alignment with modern information retrieval, not just like how we think SEO works from like 2003.
It's really cool, and it's also leveraging a lot of AI capabilities as well. Real quick, for any like C-suite or no-code marketers that are like listening, what resources do teams need in-house outside of like hiring iPullRank to help them with strategy? Who do you need in your house to execute a lot of these concepts and tactics?
Yeah, typically there's like a data scientist that would be good at this sort of stuff. But my whole point here is that Screaming Frog puts this back in the hands of SEOs because, effectively just use ChatGPT if you've got to, right? Like have it write the code for you to do these sorts of comparisons. And I've also given the code to you where you can just like copy and paste it. And at some point I'll probably figure out how you can do this in like Google Sheets or Excel or whatever. So it just becomes, like a, like a function in Sheets where you're just comparing the two vectors. So right now, like your best bet is a data scientist, but I wouldn't be surprised if a few months from now, a lot of the technical SEOs that are not developers are able to do this quite easily as well.